Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark.
And Stephen A. Smith has issued a stark warning, one that's forcing WNBA leadership to confront an uncomfortable truth about the league's long-term future. The financial model that carried women's basketball for decades is now colliding with market reality, and the impact can no longer be ignored. While headlines recently focused on on-court conflicts, aggressive fouls, and the adjustment period for high-profile rookies, a much bigger story is developing beneath the surface, and it's about money. More specifically, it's about the league's rapidly shrinking ability to retain top talent when outside investors are offering numbers that make WNBA contracts look like charity work. Reports behind the scenes suggest private leagues and investors are already approaching stars like Caitlin Clark and proven veterans like Sophie Cunningham with offers far beyond current WNBA salary norms. These aren't slight improvements, they're career-altering, life-changing figures. They're the kind of offers that force athletes to rethink everything they know about earning power, longevity, and professional value. With the 2026 collective bargaining agreement opt-out approaching fast, the league stands at its most defining crossroads yet. What happens next could reshape women's basketball permanently, in ways that would have sounded impossible even 5 years ago. Smith has been vocal about the disconnect between revenue generation and player pay. The contrast becomes jarring when you look closely. Caitlin Clark, the biggest ratings driver, the top seller of merch, and arguably the face of women's sports, earns a base salary around $75,000. Meanwhile, she generates millions in ticket revenue, broadcast numbers, sponsorship value, and cultural reach. It's not just inequitable. It's economically unrealistic in a competitive market. Rivals are watching closely, and now they're moving aggressively. As outside money enters the ecosystem, the WNBA's leverage is eroding faster than anyone expected. The strongest disruption comes from Unrivaled, a new 3-on-3 league rewriting the pay scale for female athletes. This isn't the usual overseas winter work or a temporary off-season option. Unrivaled is offering salaries reportedly triple what some WNBA veterans earn, plus equity stakes, turning players into partial owners instead of seasonal labor. That ownership element is a revolutionary wealth model, one that builds long-term financial security instead of yearly survival income. When another league offers stock, profit share, and investment upside, the WNBA salary cap stops being a structure and becomes a limitation. This shift doesn't just affect megastars, it affects the entire middle tier of elite players. Sophie Cunningham represents a group of veterans entering free agency where the math becomes unavoidable. Why grind through a long season for a modest salary when another league pays 3 times more for 3 months and offers ownership upside? The WNBA suddenly looks like the harder job with the smaller reward. And if mid-tier talent begins to exit, the league risks losing its competitive balance, storytelling depth, fan connection, and overall quality of play. The timing could not be more critical. When the 2026 opt-out arrives, players will enter negotiations with something they've never had before: real leverage. They no longer need to accept what the league offers. They can point to concrete competing contracts, real numbers, real equity, and real alternatives. The old assumption that the WNBA was the only domestic option is gone forever. Social media, agent networks, and direct player communication mean everyone knows the value women can demand on the open market. And because of that visibility, the bargaining table will never look the same. Smith has repeatedly emphasized that this moment is more than economic, it's existential. The league now faces competition that isn't hypothetical, it's active. If the WNBA doesn't evolve fast, players will walk not out of resentment, but out of pure financial logic. For the first time, stars don't need the league to succeed, the league needs them to survive. The growing financial divide is also fueling tension within the basketball community itself. A noticeable generational split over compensation and recognition has been building for months, quiet at times, but explosive when it surfaces publicly. Some veteran players have shown frustration, both subtly and openly, over the attention and opportunities pouring toward newer stars like Caitlin Clark. Many of these veterans feel they laid the foundation for the league, only to watch massive deals, sponsorships, and visibility emerge just as a new generation arrives. Still, the economic reality is clear and difficult to dispute. Professional sports run on viewership, engagement, and commercial value, not history or seniority, and the athletes driving that engagement are creating revenue for everyone. Clark's impact on attendance, merchandise sales, and TV ratings isn't just impressive, it's unprecedented in WNBA history. When a single player can move the financial economy of an entire league, the market naturally shifts in her direction. Recognition for pioneers matters, but business decisions ultimately follow profit, not nostalgia. This is where friction grows. Some of the physical play against Clark, paired with public criticism, isn't always seen as competitive intensity, but as a reflection of deeper resentment toward changing financial realities. Whether that perception is accurate or exaggerated, it exists. That is why the next 2 years are the most important in league history. The WNBA must create a competitive financial model to counter private capital, equity-based leagues, and ownership-driven salary structures. Matching pay dollar for dollar may not be possible today, but matching long-term value might be. Expanded revenue sharing, equity opportunities, post-career pathways, and retirement investments could bridge the gap between traditional salary and modern wealth building. Television contract negotiations add even more weight to the moment. If the WNBA secures a major broadcast deal fueled by rising ratings, that revenue could rapidly transform player compensation. But even if a new deal is secured, the money won't arrive immediately, and players must decide whether to wait for league growth or take guaranteed wealth elsewhere right now. The decision now comes down to a simple but defining question. Are players willing to wait for future financial growth, or will they take the guaranteed money available immediately from competing leagues? Women's sports are surging in popularity, investment, and cultural relevance. This should be the moment where the WNBA stands strong as the established global leader in women's professional basketball. Instead, it risks being overtaken by newer, faster-moving organizations that can offer flexible contracts, equity stakes, and creative compensation structures without the weight of decades-old policies. Private equity funding is the double-edged sword at the heart of this shift. The influx of capital proves that women's sports are not just valuable, they're undervalued. More money means opportunity for expansion, higher salaries, and better infrastructure. But at the same time, that investment is being funneled into competitors who are actively pulling star athletes away from the WNBA, with offers the league currently can't match. If the WNBA wants to retain the talent that fuels its popularity, it needs to bring that investment into its own house, not watch it build rival platforms. This crossroads goes beyond payroll numbers. Can the WNBA reshape its entire business model fast enough to keep the best players in the world under its banner? The era of paying athletes below market value while asking them to build for the future is ending, not gradually but suddenly. Players now have leverage. Investors see opportunity. The market has already moved, whether the league catches up or not. Stephen A. Smith's commentary struck a nerve because it voiced what many insiders already know. The current structure is no longer sustainable. The league's success created demand, and now athletes want earnings that match the audience they draw. Attendance is up. Television ratings are historic, general interest is exploding. The moment the WNBA proved its value, it also proved the value of its players. And now other leagues are willing to pay it. Pressure is flooding in from every direction. Players want compensation equal to the revenue they generate. Fans want stars to stay at any cost. Broadcasters and sponsors are invested in faces, not jerseys. Competitor leagues are offering more money, more ownership, more freedom. And the collective bargaining opt-out in 2026 is coming fast. If enough stars walk, the system collapses. If the league adapts boldly, women's basketball could enter a golden era. The next 18 months will determine which future becomes reality. A progressive, innovative response could transform the WNBA into a global sports powerhouse. A defensive, slow-moving approach could reduce it to a feeder system for richer alternatives. Change isn't optional anymore. Only the direction of that change remains undecided. The clock is ticking, the market has spoken, and the window to act is closing fast.